even want to speculate. I don't even care. I think the woman is probably I know she's corrupt. I know she's corrupt because of what she did. I mean, let's face it. And by the way, the media is totally turning on her. We were talking about that yesterday. I mean, the media, when you lose the liberal media, Letitia, baby, I don't think I know what to tell you. I mean, they can't stand you now. This is her new blow. I mean, they don't like her one single bit any more than any of us do, because they realize she's going to absorb all their tax money to actually fight this thing. She wants the $10 million that New York has set aside in legal funds. She's trying to actually use that. And so all of a sudden there's this groundswell against Letitia James. I'm like, finally, why did it have to take this long? Here's the New York Magazine. Letitia James is caught in a war of her own making, they write. And this is the direct quote. This is not me saying this, because I'd say this, but this is New York Magazine. So when you, again, are losing New York Magazine, and you're even losing the Wall Street Journal, which, that one's a little bit squishy because they tend to be more conservative than they are liberal, and they understood all that was wrong with this case from the beginning as a financial publication. But lately, they're kind of anti-Trump. So, I consider that a score. They can't stand her either. They write in New York Magazine, it's a fact beyond reasonable dispute that Letitia James weaponized her official power as New York's Attorney General to pursue Donald Trump for political purposes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, then before we even talk about mortgages, shouldn't we talk about weaponizing your political power? What kind of AG is she? Why do we have AGs in the state of New York or in the state of anywhere that are actually weaponizing their political power? This is what she did from the beginning. She ran on this. That's how wrong it is. And then she tried to bankrupt the guy on a whole bunch of bogus charges for her own political gain. It reminds me of when I was covering the horrible Duke lacrosse story. Remember that, where they were going after those poor kids and accusing those kids, and it was Mike Nifong, the DA down there. He had a chip on his shoulder. He didn't get into Duke University himself, and he thought he'd go after those Duke kids after they were falsely accused. And I knew it. I just knew it. It's one of those things at the time I was at CBS Evening News, so I'm playing the full-on straight reporter, but man, did I know it. It's I just felt it. Anyway, it kind of reminds me of that. Different situation, obviously, but it's somebody trying to use something, a story, make something up for their own political gain. He was eventually thrown out, disbarred, and that's what needs to happen with Letitia. But they may not have to wait for the weaponization of her office, because she's going to get thrown out because of this nasty situation, this horrible situation with her mortgage fraud du jour. Again, the New York Magazine writes that it's crazy. He's got over $500 million. That's $500 million, including mounting interest, that the judge, another one that ought to be thrown out, Arthur Engoron, with his own biases, decided to hit Donald Trump with. But during the trial, they write, James made a series of wildly inappropriate out-of-court statements that would ordinarily get a prosecutor fired. At one point, she publicly branded Trump and his family members as liars as they were testifying. It was so bad, you guys. It was so bad. And you had this lousy judge with this stupid verdict, and it is in the Court of Appeals right now. But don't forget, the reason why this whole case was so stupid, and they say it here, is because there were no victims. The purported victims were multi-billion-dollar banks that were repaid in full on their loans to the Trump Organization and made millions of dollars in profits through interest payments. Unsurprisingly, a New York appellate court panel voiced pointed skepticism of James's victimless case and seems poised to either substantially reduce the verdict or throw it out. Of course they will.
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
I know you guys have seen this before, and I know that we've talked about a lot of this before, but this is a big deal. And again, today, it's an especially big deal because William Pulte, head of FHA, I mean, he put it in a letter, right? But to come out on camera and say what he did, and he's saying, look, I'm not a really political person. I get it. Like, the president could fire me if he wants, but this isn't politics. This is just economics. We can't have people taking advantage of the Federal Housing Authority. I mean, wow. Okay, wow. And that is what she was trying to do. This is twisted, messed up stuff. And now the grand jury has issued subpoenas and people are going to have to talk. And you know what? This lady's going down. She's going to get up to 30 years. But even before that, and we've talked about this before too, but this is important, okay? Because she wants the $10 million. She has no money. Like Letitia's got no real money, right? Like how's she gonna pay for her legal defense? Well, maybe she can raise some political funds, do a few more little coffees there in New York City, see if somebody will cough up the money for her fancy schmancy Hunter Biden attorney. Abby Lowell, he's representing her. He charges a lot of money. And guess what? She thinks she can charge the taxpayers of New York. And that is not going to work. It's another thing that even New York Magazine brought up. Bad idea, they say. In fact, actually, they go further. They call it a dreadful idea. By dragging the AG's office into her personal mess, James has made some of her colleagues into potential witnesses and subjected them to subpoenas. So they're saying that basically she's putting the whole system on the line. James, they write, has again displayed dubious ethical instincts in her response to the pending inquiry. She has inexplicably chosen to use the resources of her public office to respond to this investigation. I mean, I can't believe that this woman was ever elected to anything. She is bad news, you guys, bad news. But sweet justice, guess what? Remember how she said that Donald Trump was going to have to maybe sell some of his assets if he didn't have the money to cover things? I think, Tishy, baby, you know what? You're going to actually have to sell some of your little assets. Maybe that brownstone in Brooklyn, it should be worth something now, to cover your expensive lawyer, because GOP taxpayers in New York, they don't want it. And they're making it very clear. You can't touch that money.
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
Oh, this is going to be so good. It's going to be really good, okay? I mean, I'm not a vindictive person. You know that I'm actually a really nice person. But when I see bad people doing bad things, I really like this sense of justice that we're getting. It's high time, right? It's high time. It's so absolutely positively deserved right now. And you know what else I think is kind of deserved is this amazing growth we've seen on this channel. And I'm so excited for it. 800,000 subs on Memorial Day. It's so weird. It keeps happening on holidays. We hit 500,000 subs on Christmas Day, and then 800,000 on Memorial Day. And Leslie, thank you so much. So guys, Leslie, we have our crowd of regulars, and we're always welcoming new people, but Leslie has been really following this show from like the first night I ever did it in my study. And she's been just such a wonderful supporter. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really, really do appreciate it. And I appreciate that you're here. And to all of you that are here every single day, we really do have a big show, though. So much to get to. And I think we get to celebrate a little bit at the end, because it is really and truly just amazing, right? What has happened and all that is going down.